Today I'm honored to present for Black History Month the story of a great Kentuckian who's still with us today. Today I rise to speak about Charles D. Neblett, a Kentuckian who became a founding member of the group known as the Freedom Singers. Charles Neblett was born in Cairo, Illinois, and took an interest in the civil rights movement from a young age. His first awareness of the movement was noticing that the schools he and his fellow black students attended received inferior funding to those in white schools. When Emmett Till was brutally murdered in 1955, the news profoundly affected Neblett as it did so many young black people of his generation. It was in light of this tragedy that he says he realized as a black man he had, quote, no rights that white people would respect. He was the same age as Till was, 14 years old. And it was then he knew that he had to be part of the movement. He said, quote, it was like getting religion. He attended Southern Illinois University, and it was there he had this first chance to be part of the civil rights movement when he was recruited by the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or SNCC. He met with success when he protested discrimination in housing at the university. He took his complaints to the university president, and the president made changes the very next semester. And he said then it was when he realized that he and the movement could make a difference. Charles Neblett became a founding member of the SNCC Freedom Singers. They were formed in Albany, Georgia, with 4 original members. Neblett still sings bass. The group schedule was a busy one, and sometimes they sang 3 concerts in a day. Their venues included parties, churches, protest marches, universities, and even jails across the nation. The Freedom Singers were valuable to the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee as one of the most successful fundraisers, but being a member was not often safe. Sometimes they ran into violent oppositions when they lifted their voices, even Klan demonstrations during their concerts. The group's repertoire included the freedom songs that had been written or adapted for the movement, including We Shall Overcome, We Shall Not Be Moved, and Keep Your Eyes on the Prize. After their tours in the 60s, the group disbanded, but they came back together in the 80s, the original 4, to sing many times. And as a member of the Freedom Singers, Neblett told me that he's traveled through more than 40 states and 100,000 miles. In 1963, the group performed most famously at the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. But Charles Neblett did not just sing for freedom. He worked for it as a community organizer in the movement. He served as a field secretary for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee from 1961 until 1966, and he worked in Mississippi for voter education and registration efforts. Charles Neblett was arrested for his work 27 times. In jail, he suffered inhumane treatment, putting up with rotten food, beatings, uncomfortably high temperatures. But during those times, he and others found their strength in song and even composed songs while he was incarcerated in Mississippi jails. Since the 1970s, Charles Neblett has worked in the historic Black Bottom neighborhood in Russellville, Kentucky, preserving homes of black Civil War veterans and helping young black people research their history. He was the first black person elected magistrate in Logan County. He founded the local Martin Luther King Jr. March and the annual King celebration that takes place in Logan County. In 2010, he was inducted into the Kentucky Civil Rights Hall of Fame. That same year, he was a guest of President Barack Obama at the White House for a celebration of the music of the civil rights movement with the surviving members of the Freedom Singers. In 2019, he became Dr. Charles Neblett when Southern Illinois University awarded him an honorary doctorate. And now in his 70s, Charles Neblett has come to this Capitol several times since I first came here in 2019 with the Poor People's Campaign. And he continues the work for racial and economic justice and poverty eradication that he began as a young man in the 1960s. I'm very proud to call this heroic freedom fighter my friend, and I'm honored to share his story on this floor today and to lift up his work in the ongoing Black freedom struggle. Thank you.
Thank you, Lady Ford.